It's a foggy midnight in the quaint town of Willow Creek, nestled deep in the misty forests of rural Maine. A young man, drenched in sweat and terror, stumbles through the overgrown cemetery behind an ancient mansion. His heart pounds like a war drum as he hears the faint rustle of a wedding veil trailing behind him. "You promised forever," a ghostly voice whispers, chilling him to the bone. But this isn't just any ghost story. It's the curse of the Hawthorne family, where every 50 years, the spectral bride rises to claim a new groom, dragging him into eternal matrimony in the afterlife. Tonight, that groom is Alex Thompson, and his nightmare is just beginning. Buckle up, because this tale of betrayal, horror, and redemption will keep you glued to your seat. If you're brave enough, hit that like button and subscribe for more spine-tingling stories. Let's dive in. Our story unfolds in the year 2025, under a blood-red harvest moon that casts eerie shadows over Willow Creek. This sleepy American town, with its colonial-era homes and whispers of old Puritan secrets, has long been shrouded in legend. The Hawthorne Mansion, a sprawling Gothic estate on the outskirts, stands as a relic of the past, its ivy-covered walls hiding centuries of dark history. Locals avoid it after dusk, sharing tales around campfires about Elizabeth Hawthorne, the tragic bride from the 1800s whose wedding night ended in heartbreak and suicide. Alex Thompson, a 28-year-old software engineer from bustling Boston, never believed in ghosts. He was on a solo road trip to clear his head after a brutal breakup, seeking solace in the rugged beauty of Maine's wilderness. His car, a sleek electric SUV, broke down on a desolate back road just as a storm rolled in. Thunder cracked like gunfire, and rain pelted the windshield. With no cell service, Alex trudged through the mud toward the faint lights of Willow Creek. He knocked on the door of the Hawthorne Mansion, the only place with a porch light flickering in the gale. The door creaked open, revealing an elderly woman named Margaret Hawthorne, the current matriarch of the family. Her face was etched with lines of worry, but she offered a forced smile. "Stranger in need? Come in, dear. The roads are treacherous tonight." Inside, the mansion was a time capsule. Antique furniture draped in dust covers, portraits of stern ancestors glaring from the walls, and the faint scent of lavender mixed with decay. Margaret's family, her son Robert, daughter-in-law Clara, and a few distant relatives, gathered in the parlor, eyeing Alex with a mix of pity and dread. They insisted he stay the night, serving him hot cider by the roaring fireplace. "The curse awakens every half-century," Robert muttered under his breath. But when Alex asked, they brushed it off as old folklore. As the clock struck midnight, Alex retired to a guest room upstairs. The bed was canopy style, with heavy velvet curtains that swayed gently in the draft. Exhausted, he drifted into sleep. But soon, unsettling dreams invaded his mind. He saw a woman in a crimson wedding gown, her veil torn and stained, standing at the altar of a crumbling chapel. Her eyes, hollow and accusing, locked onto his. "Till death do us part, and beyond," she intoned, her voice echoing like wind through a crypt. Waking with a start, Alex felt an icy hand brush his cheek. The room had grown unnaturally cold, frost forming on the windows, despite the summer heat outside. There she was, Elizabeth Hawthorne, or what remained of her spirit. Her form shimmered in the moonlight, her once beautiful face now pale and gaunt, lips curled in a haunting smile. "My love," she cooed, her breath visible in the air. "You've come back to me at last." Alex bolted upright, his scream caught in his throat. This wasn't a dream. The door was bolted from the outside, and the windows wouldn't budge. Panic surged through him as Elizabeth glided closer, her gown trailing ethereal mist. "I waited 50 years for you. Our wedding was interrupted, but tonight, we seal it eternally." Alex's mind raced. He remembered snippets from Margaret's earlier ramblings about the curse. Elizabeth had been jilted at the altar in 1825 by her fiancé, a scoundrel named Jonathan Pierce, who fled with her dowry and another woman. In despair, she poisoned herself on her wedding night, cursing her bloodline to relive the agony. Every 50 years, on the harvest moon, she claimed a new groom, always a stranger who wandered into town to be her eternal husband in the grave. Alex pounded on the door, yelling for help. Outside, the Hawthorns huddled in prayer, their voices a low chant. "It's the only way to appease her," Clara whispered to Robert. "If we interfere, she'll take us all." But Alex wasn't one to surrender. He smashed a vase against the window, shards flying as he leaped out onto the roof, the drop to the ground heart-stopping. Elizabeth's laughter pursued him, a spectral wail that pierced the night. Racing across the slick roof tiles, Alex's feet slipped on moss, nearly sending him plummeting into the abyss below. The Hawthorne mansion loomed like a monstrous sentinel, its turrets piercing the stormy sky. Lightning illuminated Elizabeth's form, materializing behind him, her veil whipping in the wind like a noose. "You can't run from destiny, my darling." Her voice boomed, no longer a whisper, but a thunderous command that rattled his bones. He jumped to a lower ledge, rolling into the overgrown garden. Thorns tore at his clothes as he sprinted toward the dense forest surrounding Willow Creek. The town itself was a ghost at this hour. Street lights flickering dimly, houses shuttered against the legend they all feared. Alex's mind flashed back to his ex-girlfriend's betrayal. How ironic that he'd fled one heartbreak only to stumble into this eternal one. But survival instinct kicked in. He needed answers, a way to break the curse before Elizabeth claimed him. Ducking behind a weathered mausoleum in the family cemetery, Alex caught his breath. Inscriptions on the tombstones told fragments of the Hawthorne saga. Elizabeth Hawthorne, 1800 to 1825. Betrayed in love, eternal in vengeance. A chill ran down his spine as he heard footsteps, soft, deliberate, like silk dragging over gravel. Peeking out, he saw her. Elizabeth, now more corporeal, her eyes glowing with unholy fire. She extended a hand, fingers skeletal beneath translucent skin. "Join me, and we'll dance in the shadows forever." Alex bolted deeper into the woods, branches clawing at his face like accusing fingers. The forest was alive with unnatural sounds. Owls hooting warnings, leaves rustling without wind. He stumbled upon an old trail leading to a forgotten chapel, the very one from his dream. Forcing the door open, he barricaded it with a fallen pew. Inside, dust motes danced in moonlight streaming through stained glass windows, depicting wedding scenes twisted into horror. Rummaging through the altar drawers, Alex found a leather-bound journal, yellowed with age. It belonged to a previous victim, a traveler named Elias Grant, from 1975. The entries were frantic. The curse demands blood from the betrayer's line. Pierce's descendants hold the key. Only their sacrifice can end it. Alex's heart skipped. Pierce. Jonathan Pierce. He recalled his genealogy hobby. His great-great-grandfather was a Pierce from Maine. Could it be? A DNA test last year confirmed distant ties to old New England families. No wonder Elizabeth targeted him. It wasn't random. She sensed the blood of her betrayer in his veins. The door shuddered as Elizabeth pounded against it, wood splintering. I smell your treachery, descendant of the faithless. Alex flipped through the journal faster. It detailed a ritual. Spill the betrayer's blood on hallowed ground while reciting an ancient incantation to release the soul. But where to find pure, hallowed ground? The journal mentioned a hidden spring in the forest, blessed by early settlers. With a crash, the door gave way. Elizabeth surged in, her form expanding into a swirling vortex of mist and fury. Alex dodged her grasp, feeling a cold burn where her fingers grazed his arm. He crashed through a side window, glass shattering like his sanity. The chase resumed, deeper into the woods, where the trees seemed to close in, roots tripping him deliberately. He reached the spring, a crystal-clear pool glowing faintly under the moon. But Elizabeth was close, her wails echoing accusations. He left me at the altar, stole my heart and my future. Alex's own guilt surfaced. His ex had cheated, but hadn't he ignored the signs, too busy with work? The parallel fueled his resolve. Kneeling by the water, he pulled out his pocket knife, slicing his palm. Blood dripped into the pool, rippling outward. Elizabeth appeared, hovering above. Fool, your blood binds us closer. But as he chanted the words from the journal, by blood betrayed, by blood redeemed, the water boiled, steam rising like exorcised spirits. She shrieked, her form convulsing, fragments of her gown dissolving into the night. Yet the curse fought back. Visions assaulted Alex, reliving Elizabeth's wedding night, feeling her despair as Jonathan fled. The pain was visceral, nearly breaking him. He collapsed, the world fading. As the steam from the spring enveloped him, Alex's vision cleared just in time to see Elizabeth reforming, stronger than before. Her shriek pierced the air like a banshee's cry, shaking the ancient oaks around the pool. You think a drop of tainted blood can free me. Your lineage is my chain. The ground trembled, roots bursting from the earth to ensnare his legs, pulling him toward the water's edge. This wasn't just a ghost. It was the curse manifesting the forest itself as her ally. Struggling free, Alex realized the ritual was incomplete. The journal had a postscript. The betrayer's direct heir must willingly atone. But he wasn't the only one. Back at the mansion, Margaret had mentioned a reclusive hermit in the woods, Old Man Harlan Pierce, the last known descendant living in isolation. Harlan was Jonathan's great-grandson, shunned by Willow Creek for the family's infamous legacy. Alex had to find him, convince him to join the ritual, or face eternal damnation. Dodging spectral tendrils that lashed like whips, Alex sprinted toward the hermit's cabin, guided by vague directions from the journal. The path was treacherous. Illusionary pitfalls appeared, mimicking quicksand, and whispers of his past failures taunted him. You let her go, just like Jonathan. His ex's face flashed in the mist, accusing him of neglect. The psychological torment was as deadly as the physical chase. Arriving at the ramshackle cabin, Alex banged on the door. Harlan, a grizzled man in his 80s with wild eyes and a shotgun, answered. "Get off my land, curse bringer." But Alex pleaded, showing the journal and his bleeding hand. "You're the key. Your ancestors' sin started this. End it with me." Harlan hesitated, revealing his own nightmares, visions of Elizabeth since childhood, driving him to solitude. "I've hidden, but she always finds us Pierces." Reluctantly, Harlan agreed, grabbing a vial of holy water from his shelf, a relic from his Puritan forebears. Together, they raced back to the spring, Elizabeth's presence growing oppressive. The sky darkened, storm clouds swirling unnaturally. At the pool, she awaited, her form towering now, a bridal giant wreathed in lightning. The ritual recommenced. Harlan and Alex clasped hands, mixing their blood in the water while chanting. Elizabeth lunged, her claws raking Harlan's shoulder, drawing blood that sizzled on contact. "Traitors both! You'll rot with me." The pool erupted in a geyser, visions of the original betrayal playing out. Jonathan stealing away on horseback, Elizabeth's body crumpling in poison agony. In a climactic surge, the curse cracked. Elizabeth's scream shattered the night, her essence fracturing into harmless wisps. The forest stilled, the moon emerging peaceful. Harlan slumped, wounded but alive. "It's over. For now." Alex, exhausted, helped him back to town. The Hawthorns emerged from hiding, grateful yet wary. But as dawn broke, Alex felt a lingering chill, a whisper in his ear. "Until the next moon, dot, dot," with the first rays of sunlight filtering through the canopy. Alex and Harlan staggered back to Willow Creek. The town stirred to life, unaware of the night's horrors, but the Hawthorns waited anxiously on the mansion's porch. Margaret's eyes widened at the sight of Harlan, her long-lost cousin, estranged by the curse's shame. You broke it?" she gasped, bandaging their wounds in the parlor. As they recounted the events, Clara brewed strong coffee, the aroma grounding them in reality. Robert flipped through the journal, nodding. "Generations have suffered. My grandfather was taken in 1925, vanished without a trace." Alex felt a surge of relief mixed with unease. His arm, where Elizabeth touched him, bore a faint scar that pulsed faintly, like a reminder. But peace was short-lived. That afternoon, while exploring the mansion's attic for more clues, Alex discovered a hidden letter from 1875. It was from another Pierce descendant, warning that the curse adapts. She claims not just grooms, but souls tied by betrayal. If not fully atoned, it returns stronger. Chills returned. Had they missed something? Harlan, resting downstairs, confessed, "I didn't tell you everything." Jonathan didn't just leave. He murdered Elizabeth's sister in jealousy. The curse demands full confession. The group decided to confront the truth. They gathered at the chapel, performing a secondary rite, burning the letter and Jonathan's old locket, found in the attic. As flames consumed it, a final apparition of Elizabeth appeared, not vengeful, but sorrowful. "Forgive and be free." She faded, leaving a sense of closure. Yet, Alex couldn't shake the scar's throb. Driving out of Willow Creek, he pondered how close he'd come to eternal entrapment, mirroring his real-life fears of commitment. Leaving Willow Creek behind, Alex's SUV hummed along the highway back to Boston. The scar on his arm itched, a physical memento of the night's terror. He glanced in the rearview mirror, half expecting Elizabeth's face, but saw only his exhausted reflection. The experience had cracked his skepticism wide open. Ghosts were real. Curses, too, born from human pain. Back home, Alex researched the Hawthorne legend online, finding obscure forums and local history books confirming the tales. One article from a Maine historian detailed similar curses in American folklore, like the Bell Witch in Tennessee, where betrayal fueled supernatural vengeance. It made him think, how many modern hauntings stem from unresolved emotional wounds? He confided in his best friend Mike over beer. It wasn't just scary, it was a mirror. My breakup. I was like Jonathan, too focused on myself. Mike nodded, sharing his own story of a failed marriage due to neglect. Statistics backed it. According to the American Psychological Association, 40 to 50% of marriages end in divorce, often from betrayal or communication breakdowns, leading to lasting trauma akin to a curse. Alex began journaling, turning the horror into therapy. He realized the curse's lesson. Betrayal's ripple effects can haunt generations if not addressed. The Boston skyline glimmered as Alex Thompson pulled into his apartment complex, the weight of Willow Creek still clinging to him like damp fog. His scar throbbed faintly, a nagging reminder of Elizabeth Hawthorne's ghostly touch. Exhausted but restless, he poured a glass of whiskey and sank into his couch, the journal from the chapel open on his lap. Its pages, brittle and stained, held more than just Elias Grant's desperate warnings. They hinted at a deeper truth. The curse wasn't just about Elizabeth's betrayal, but about the town's complicity. Willow Creek's founders, Puritan zealots, had shunned her family, blaming her for Jonathan Pierce's crimes. That collective guilt, the journal suggested, fueled her wrath across centuries. Alex couldn't sleep. Every creak in his apartment made him jump, expecting Elizabeth's crimson veil to materialize. He turned to the internet, diving into Willow Creek's history. A digitized archive from the Maine Historical Society revealed chilling details. In 1825, after Elizabeth's suicide, the town buried her in an unmarked grave outside hallowed ground, fearing her tainted soul. A 1975 newspaper clipping reported a missing hiker, likely Elias, last seen near the Hawthorne mansion. The pieces fit. The town's silence had perpetuated the curse, letting strangers like Alex bear the cost. Haunted by this, Alex called Mike again, needing to process. It's like the whole town's cursed, man. They let her suffer, then let others pay for it. Mike, a history buff, pointed out parallels to real-world cover-ups like the Salem witch trials, where communal guilt festered into legend. People hide their shame, Mike said, and it festers into something worse. According to a 2023 study from the Journal of Social Psychology, unresolved guilt can manifest in collective trauma, passed down through generations, much like a curse. Determined to break this cycle, Alex decided to return to Willow Creek. He packed a bag, including the journal and a cross from his late grandmother, hoping it held some protective power. The drive back was tense. The scar burned hotter the closer he got. Arriving at dusk, he found the town eerily quiet, as if it sensed his return. The Hawthorne mansion loomed darker now, its windows like hollow eyes. Margaret greeted him, shocked, but not surprised. "You felt her call, didn't you?" she whispered, ushering him inside. "Over tea," she confessed. The Hawthorns had known about the curse's true nature, but feared exposing it would destroy the town. Our ancestors turned away when Elizabeth needed them. We thought silence would bury it. Alex slammed his fist on the table. Silence made it worse. I'm a Pierce, her betrayer's blood. If I don't end this, it'll keep taking people. Margaret revealed a hidden family relic, a silver dagger, inscribed with Puritan runes, said to sever cursed bonds when wielded by the penitent. But it required a final confrontation at Elizabeth's true grave, not the one in the cemetery, but a secret plot deep in the forest where her body was dumped. Alex's resolve hardened, but dread gnawed at him. What if the curse demanded more than blood? Perhaps his life. As night fell, Alex and Margaret trekked into the woods, the dagger in his hand glowing faintly under the harvest moon. The air grew heavy, whispers swirling. You'll never leave me. Elizabeth's presence was near, her anger palpable. The scar on Alex's arm pulsed like a heartbeat, guiding him to a clearing where a gnarled willow marked her grave. The willow tree stood like a sentinel over the unmarked grave, its roots twisting into the earth like veins of sorrow. Alex's flashlight trembled in his hand, casting jagged shadows across the clearing. Margaret clutched a rosary, her lips moving in silent prayer, but her eyes betrayed terror. The air was thick with the scent of wet moss and something acrid, like burnt roses. Elizabeth's presence pulsed stronger here, the scar on Alex's arm now searing, as if her ghostly fingers were digging into his flesh. He knelt by the willow, the silver dagger glinting in the moonlight. The journal had described this spot, a cursed patch where Elizabeth's body was abandoned, denied a proper burial. Alex dug with his hands, dirt caking under his nails, until he unearthed a fragment of bone wrapped in decayed silk, her wedding veil. A wail tore through the night, and Elizabeth materialized, no longer the tragic bride, but a wrathful specter. Her gown bled crimson, dripping onto the ground, and her eyes burned with accusation. You dare disturb my rest, traitor's kin? Her voice was a storm, shaking the trees. Alex gripped the dagger, heart pounding. I'm here to make it right, Elizabeth. Your pain ends tonight. He recited the incantation from the journal, his voice steady despite the fear clawing at him. By blood and truth release the bound. Margaret joined in, her voice trembling but resolute. The ground quaked, roots writhing like serpents. Elizabeth lunged, her claws grazing Alex's chest, leaving icy burns. He swung the dagger, not to strike her, but to cut his own palm, letting blood drip onto the bone fragment. The effect was immediate. The clearing glowed, a soft blue light rising from the grave. Elizabeth froze, her form flickering between fury and sorrow. Visions flooded Alex's mind. Elizabeth's wedding day, her joy turning to despair as Jonathan fled, the town's elders turning away as she drank poison. But there was more. Her sister's murder, a secret the town buried to protect the Pierce family's wealth. The collective betrayal had bound her soul to vengeance. Margaret sobbed, confessing her family's role. We knew, and we hid it. Forgive us. Elizabeth's wail softened into a moan, her form shrinking. Why did they forsake me? She whispered, almost human again. Alex, driven by instinct, placed the bone fragment in the center of the clearing and poured the holy water Harlan had given him. You're free, he said, voice breaking. We see your pain now. The light intensified, enveloping Elizabeth. Her face softened, the hatred fading. Forgiven, she murmured, her form dissolving into a cascade of fireflies that scattered into the night. The scar on Alex's arm stopped burning, leaving only a faint mark. The forest fell silent. The curse's weight lifted. But as Alex and Margaret staggered back to the mansion, a lingering unease remained. Had they truly ended it, or was this a temporary reprieve? The journal warned of the curse's adaptability. What if it sought another way to return? Back at the Hawthorne mansion, dawn painted the sky in hues of gold and pink, a stark contrast to the horrors of the night. Alex sat in the parlor, bandaged and weary, sipping coffee with Margaret and Robert. The air felt lighter, the oppressive aura gone, but the weight of what they'd uncovered lingered. The town's silence, the Hawthorne family's shame, and the Pierce legacy of betrayal had fueled a curse that nearly claimed Alex's life. He traced the scar on his arm, now just a pale line, wondering if it would ever truly fade. Margaret broke the silence. "We owe you, Alex. You forced us to face what we buried." She handed him an old locket from the attic, engraved with Elizabeth's initials. Inside was a faded portrait of her, young and hopeful. "Keep it. She deserves to be remembered right." Alex nodded, tucking it into his pocket. He thought of his own past, his ex's betrayal, his own failures to communicate. The curse wasn't just Elizabeth's. It was a mirror to human flaws. Driving back to Boston, Alex stopped at a diner in a nearby town, needing normalcy. Over pancakes, he overheard locals whispering about Willow Creek's legend, now softened into a tale of a redeemed bride. Social media buzzed too. A Reddit thread on R Paranormal had users debating similar curses, citing the Dybbuk box and other artifacts tied to unresolved grief. A 2024 study from the University of Maine's Folklore Department noted that 60% of New England ghost stories stem from historical betrayals, lending credence to Elizabeth's tale. At home, Alex started a blog, pouring his experience into words. He titled it, "Breaking the Curse, Facing Our Ghosts." Writing became catharsis, helping him process his breakup and his brush with the supernatural. He realized the curse thrived on denial. Elizabeth's, the town's, even his own. Facing truth, however painful, was the only way to heal. Months later, Alex's life had changed. His blog gained traction, resonating with readers who saw their own struggles in his story. He spoke at a local library in Boston, sharing the Willow Creek ordeal. The curse wasn't just Elizabeth's vengeance, he told the crowd. It was a warning. When we bury our mistakes, betrayals, guilt, pain, they don't disappear. They haunt us, sometimes for generations. The audience nodded, some sharing their own stories of unresolved conflicts. Alex learned to confront his own ghosts. He reached out to his ex, not to rekindle, but to forgive, freeing himself from lingering resentment. A 2022 Harvard study on emotional health showed forgiveness reduces stress by 30%, improving mental clarity, something Alex felt firsthand. He also volunteered with a Maine historical society, helping digitize records to preserve stories like Elizabeth's, ensuring no one's pain was forgotten again. The locket became a talisman, a reminder to face truth head on. Willow Creek, too, began to heal, with the Hawthornes opening their mansion as a museum to honor Elizabeth, turning a dark legacy into a lesson. Years later, Alex visited Willow Creek for its first Elizabeth Hawthorne Day, a festival celebrating redemption. The town square glowed with lanterns, and children reenacted a sanitized version of the tale. Margaret hugged him, whispering, "You gave us back our peace." As Alex looked at the willow tree, now a monument, he felt no fear, only hope. The curse was gone, but its lesson endured. Face your ghosts, or they'll haunt you forever.